Video games like Postal.
Going postal.
Going postal. New video game. It's called Postal.
There are a lot of people that really wish we would go away, but it's never going to happen.
Their whole premise is so over the top. It's so ridiculous.
There was a video game called Postal. We just ran around shooting people.
Oh, this is going to piss off your viewers, isn't it? Oh, well.
Going Postal, The Legacy Foretold. A new documentary about the history of running with scissors. Streaming this spring. Pre-order now. Go to goingpostaldoc.com. That's goingpostaldoc.com. Tell them In the Keep sent you. Hey kids, you like games? You like being scared? Then you'll love Fearzine. Fearzine is your premier source for all of the latest in horror gaming. Join their community on Discord and follow them on all of the social medias that you have. And don't forget about their digital and physical magazine. They're currently running a Kickstarter for issue number 3. So head on over to fearzinemagazine.com. That's FEARZINE magazine.com. Right now. Like now. Go. fearzinemagazine.com. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half-sunk and shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. No thing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Percy Shelley, Ozymandias, 1819. So what was growing up like?
Weird. Got moved around quite a bit, eventually settling like in this area, northern Jutland, as it were. Yeah. And being me, I was an outsider, man. I was weird. And having Asperger's, having autism in this area at that time in the 90s, man. That was like, you were cooked. You were absolutely cooked. Like, you will like shit that people don't like, and you will like, why don't you like soccer, man? Or football, as we call it. Why don't you like football? Like, I just don't. It's weird to me, and people are screaming, like, what the hell is going on here? So, a little bit of an outsider, but, that's how it was. Over time, then eventually go into a boarding school where it was a performing arts boarding school. That's sort of the culture shock that you need as that type of person, like an autistic weirdo. Because then you're put in a room with other autistic weirdos, and you kind of realize, like, oh, okay, yeah, like, now I get it.
Mom and Pop, how old were you when they did that? Like,
I was like 16 maybe, and just old enough to
just like go.
No, actually, no. Like, actually, I have a friend. Well, I had a friend, but he's still kind of if we were to talk today, I would be like, hey, man. My friend Mark at the time, he was like, I'm after school, I'm going to this boarding school thing. It's for musicians, and I'm going to be a famous musician. And obviously neither of us fucking became famous musicians, right?
Right.
But he was like, I'm going there, and I was like, what's it like? And he was like, it's a music boarding school. Here are pictures. I don't know if it was on a phone. He showed me. It was probably on a computer, and I was like, okay, so like, what's it like? What like if you go at our grade, what do you have to do? It's like basically nothing. Really? Like no school? It's just like a summer camp, but for musicians. Like, yeah. Let's see. I want to go too. And then I was the one pushing for it. I was like, I want to go here. And my parents were like, we don't have the money to send you there. And I was like, I'll find a way. And eventually we figured out like, hey, we can like get like have my dog have puppies, sell the puppies, because those are purebred, all that.
You're
Sell enough
pimping
of
out your
those.
dog to
Basically, pimping out my fucking dog, man. We sold all those puppies, and then like at the end, I had enough money. I was able to go. And after that, I was more well adjusted. I was able to socialize. I think that's like really important for weird kids to just go to a fucking boarding school or whatever. Be around like 50 other weird kids. Learn like social hierarchies,
where
talking
was
to
the
people.
school at? Like,
It was yeah, it's Vista Torp. It's if you're here up in northern Jutland,
yeah,
north of the fjord, you just go west. You go west, man, and you keep
Near, like-
going west.
Blockhus or
No.
Yeah.
Blockhus is sort of close-ish.
uh,
But way, way, way further
Okay.
west. It's 2 hours-ish by bus. And once you get there, the whole biome is different. It's like going to a different biome in Minecraft, right?
Okay.
Because it's the trees are different, the ground is different. And yeah, because it was like very rural, it was like between a sort of big city and another sort of big city, just slap dab in the middle. All the locals hated us because they're just rural locals in like a small provincial town, and here come all these weird kids with long hair and nose rings and whatever else.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I was like today, if that happened in my town, I would also be like, Jesus fucking Christ, these fucking kids. Like I want to move. But yeah, we basically just went there. We're there for like a year, made friendships, out into the world after that. And by that time, you're like either 18 or almost 18. So I just said, sayonara, I'm moving into the city. I'm becoming a rat person. Which is exactly what I did, man. Just coasting off of doing shit. I'll say it that way. To keep it kosher.
Okay.
No violent, weird crap, but like it was not all above board, you know?
Okay.
You make some mistakes when you're 18 and 20.
What did you do after that?
Well, shit, I just coasted for like the longest time. And yeah, fell into depression, became weird and recluse and like, my life, what do I do? And eventually I was like, well, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to finish a university degree. I'm going to get it. And I went to university, kind of got my shit together, got that degree. And after that, I was like, well, I'm just going to be weird on the internet for a while. And that's sort of where, my first job in the industry came about, actually from Fiverr. And I was just trying to like get anything. Like, do you need a graphic designer? I can design your logos. I'm great with that. Do you need like a voiceover artist? I can do that. I can do anything.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I was shit at all of those things, but got into video games. And by that time, I was like, okay, well, we got to get a little serious here. And that's sort of exactly around the time that you met me. Going into 3D realms just after a couple of months spent at the previous thing, where like the project doesn't even bear mentioning because they butchered it. It was not a great situation, but we've seen that many times across the board. Many
Yeah.
such cases, one might say.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel sorry for I don't even like to use the words "the industry." Like, every time I
No.
hear someone else say it, I get, like, kinda, like, this just, vibe from it, and I'm like, "Eh." But I feel like so many people come into video games as a business or whatever with just this bright eyes and it just sucks your fucking soul out immediately. It's, like, so depressing compared to what you initially kinda think of it as. And it always has the same effect, like, you get that job and you show up and it's like, "This office is amazing, everything's wonderful." And I was that way, I was like, "Oh my god, we have a fucking" I had come from the Air Force too, so I was like, "We have a coffee machine,
Yeah.
adds milk for you, I feel like I live in fucking Star Trek, and there's beer in the fridge at work, and we can do whatever we want." And there's
Yeah.
yeah,
We're
and
Wolf on
then
Wall Street right now. Well, we're the Wolf on Wall Street, and we're having coffee with the milk already in it. What?
yeah. Yeah, it was like me and Vince used to call Fred the Willy Wonka of video games, like, he
That
you walk
actually,
in,
yeah.
"Come with
Like the,
me, and you'll be in a world," and then after a while, it turns like the Oompa Loompas start fucking capping people in the fucking bathroom and dragging them out the back door. Um, every time
yeah,
someone new would get laid off, we would immediately play the Layla second part from Goodfellas when they, like, are whacking all the fucking people to make sure that no one gets caught, like, no one rats them
yeah.
out or whatever, they keep finding bodies in freezers, and I was like, "Lay," like, every time.
No,
Um,
that is it, right? Like the thing about that is like every industry where when you're a kid, you really think that is going to be amazing. Same thing with animators, right? The animation industry. That was sort of how I got into video games was be a key animator, do key animations, do concept art. And I was like, "Whoa, this is the thing that I always wanted." And like a couple of months into it, I was like waking up and I was like, "Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Ah, okay, I have to do this." It just turned into a job, man. It turns into a job so quick. But you have no idea. Like the first 3 months, because I was on trial period for the first 3 months. Basically, they could let me go at any point and not lose a fucking thing. So that's, you know, they have all the incentive to get rid of me if I'm not doing things right. I was constantly, my shoulders were like up around my fucking ears, and I was like, oh, when are they gonna realize I don't know what the fuck I'm doing? When are they gonna realize I've been bullshitting this whole time?
I felt like I had diplomatic immunity or some shit. Like, compared to the Air Force, like, Denmark as a whole and Slipgate specifically, I felt like I could do anything I wanted and no one would do like, there were no real consequences. Like, "What are you gonna do?" Like, fire me doesn't sound very scary next to, like, send you to Fort Leavenworth and make you turn big rocks into little rocks until you're dead or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. Like,
free. I'm literally free. I felt like Django, like, when he's like they're like, "You're free now," and he's like, what does that mean?" Like,
yeah, what do I do? What does free mean? Where do I go?
yeah. Um, but yeah, it was really, like, seriously, like, one of the best working environments in so many ways. But for me, like, the biggest thing that I've struggled and ultimately I think was kinda congratulations to everybody listening on Tempest Rising.
Oh
You
yeah.
you made it. They weathered the storm, and I'm very happy for them. But I think what caused and not just in Slipgate, I mean, like, industry-wide
Mm.
after COVID, what caused so many problems was there was, like, a real lack of structure across the board. Like, no one I literally would, like, talk to people and be like, "Who is your supervisor?" And I don't know who my supervisor is. And I'm like, "That doesn't how do you even work here? Do you have a contract that says you work here? Like, what is this?" And and that multiplied by the number of people in the games industry at the time, especially those who were under the, you know, Embracer umbrella, because they just bought up all these companies, didn't audit them, financially personnel, they just kind of like, yeah, do whatever you want, spend millions and millions of dollars, and then they tightened up after like 2 years of that. But I was so frustrated with the lack of a clear hierarchy. Like, I don't know who to ask to do what. I remember who was the fucking skinny kid that worked for you guys that with the glasses, blonde hair.
Sophus.
One of them. Sorry,
Sophus, skinny guy with glasses who worked in the QA department. That's
Yeah.
Sophus.
So Henrik and you had left for the day, and I needed QA to do something very important. I don't even remember what it was, so it probably wasn't that important. But I like go over there. I'm like, hey, need this to get done like now, and he's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, well, Henrik's not here, and he's head of QA, and he would have to approve that, so it'll have to wait until tomorrow. And I'm like,
What?
let's start again. I'm gonna ask you another series of questions, and from now on, your options are yes or I will figure it out, and those are all your options. And then, like after like 5 minutes of me going in on this, I stopped and I'm like, I'm not staff sergeant. This guy doesn't even work for me. He didn't sign up for this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. And I like apologized and just walked away. Dealt with it.
Well, that's odd because, at least when I was there, I kind of just, that hierarchy thing is, he's head of QA and he would have to approve. Everybody's gone home. What are you doing? Like you're working overtime first of all, but also you can take like 30 minutes to do something else. I'm not going to explode.
If you are on a ship and the captain is not on the ship, the next highest ranking person after the captain is the captain of the ship until the captain comes back. Like in Star Trek when they're like, Data, you're in charge. Before they leave, they're like, you have the deck. It's yours until I return.
Yeah.
That's how that works. And that's how I've learned a lot since then, but that is how I was programmed by the fucking US military to think. So in my mind, it's like, you're in here. You were the person at the helm of this spaceship. Drive it because no one else is here to do it. And that would always be the case. Like all the way up the corporate chain, there's always like this like 2-week fucking delay to get anything done because you have to like wait for, I'm on vacation. Especially you fucking Europeans and your goddamn vacations. I'm on holiday. I'm on.
You're telling me, dude.
I'm on maternity leave. I'm on this. I'm on that. I'm like, who the fuck after you makes decisions? Like, I don't have time to wait for you. Like I have a gun to my head to get this game out by January the fucking 8th or whatever. And it has to be done, and it's millions of dollars are on the fucking line. And I'm waiting on somebody to fucking get back from their vacation because they felt a little depressed after their birthday or some shit. I don't get it. This is not computing for me, but
no, yeah. Exactly. But that's such a weird thing because that was never the milieu I was trying to kind of create at the QA office. So it's weird to me that Sophos especially was like, because I feel like after a while I was there, he would just be like, sure, okay. And that's the thing. Work will always be here when you come back. Don't worry about it. There's always more to do. So take 30 minutes. I had to tell those guys a million times, there's a soft rule. It's not really a hard rule, but essentially after every 45 minutes, you have to get up for 15 minutes and do something because, companies don't want you to get blood clots in your legs and shit. That's their version of doing it. Shit. Okay, well, we're going to have to let them have that 15 minutes every time they get up. And I'd get up because I'd be like, I'm going outside. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Anyone want to come with me? Anyone want to just take 5? And people were like, no, I'm busy with Graven or whatever, and I was like, eventually I'd be like, that's not a question. I'm telling you to get up and do something else
I've done
because
that.
you're gonna lose. Yeah, exactly. You're gonna lose your fucking mind if you just sit there for like 8 hours straight, only stopping for bathroom breaks and going to lunch. That's not a life.
True story. When Faith was my, not like direct subordinate, but like in the military, I was like the head of what you call flight weather. I would basically like you brief pilots. Like they call like a call center.
Yeah.
What's the weather going to be for this, that, whatever route, and we would just take care of that all day long. And on this particular day, she was like clearly not having a good day, and I was like, "Let's go talk about it." And then she tells me what's going on. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go back inside and talk to the captain, and you can just go home." She's like, "I can't go home." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I have work to do." I'm like, "I'm not asking you. Like, this is an order. Go back to your fucking dorm room and get through, like, whatever it is you're going through, deal with that, and I will handle it with everything above me is my problem. This is a shit goes downhill. So I'm telling you now to leave, and then when I go inside, someone's going to ask me what happened to your subordinate, and then I will say, I told her to go home. And if they have a problem with that, I will be the one punished for it, not you. That's how this works. And coming into just in general, like the way that structure was laid out was all very flat. I hate that fucking term. Flat
It's
structure.
a flat hierarchy. It's a flat hierarchy, guy.
I hate it. I hate it. Still can't stand it. I'm like, and then they changed it to flat-ish because I gave them so much shit for it. Like when they were doing the employee handbook, I was like, this is dumb. I don't want this here. And they were like, well, and then they literally put flat dash ISH.
Oh, fuck off. Then just don't say it.
Yeah,
then
that's what I
just
said
don't
too.
say it.
I got so mad. I told, like, Becker was like, well, we have 2 weeks to finish this and then we have to turn it in. And then I just said, fuck it. I don't care. I don't care. Like, your employee handbook is, I'm going to wipe my ass with it when you publish it. And he's like, but we really want your input. I'm like, I gave you my input. Throw it away. That's my input. I was such a dick. And I really did have, like, emotional issues with, like, how to just be fucking normal around people when it came to work because I was so used to that structure, that way of doing things. And, but on the other hand, the lack of understanding that in that Northern European way of doing things while working for a company that's owned by Russia and America ultimately came down to where it was. And I think for me and Vince in particular, I think it was even more difficult because we would know that shit ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, I would be like, hey, you guys really should fucking finish this game. Like, if you have to work a couple extra hours a day or whatever, like, I would definitely get past this milestone for Tempest. And then someone else would be like, you know, and rightfully so, like, we really need a break. We've been working all week. And, like, I think it's time we all just kind of, like, take a break to breathe and all that shit. And then I would know in the back of my head, like, dude, you're going to get laid off next week. But I can't tell you that kind of shit. And it would be better if we really it was such a hard situation to be in, and it's always like that. Fred told me like first day, like, don't get too close to people, like, and he was right. He was 100% right to give me that advice because I always tried to be everybody's fucking best friend, and I really care about people. I hope that shows through. Like, I really fucking like.
That's just like a character trait of yours, man. Like,
yeah.
When it like you're like, don't take this the wrong way. You're like a human golden retriever. Like everybody you meet, man, is just like, hey, my name is Tyler. Who are you? What's your name? And even if they're like extremely Danish and they don't know how to do that, like an adult Dane is extremely hard to get in under their skin. They almost get scared. They're like, my name is Jonas and I'm such and such.
Who's your girlfriend? Nice like, where are you from?
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, tell me more. Who are you?
What underwear are you wearing right now? Show me. Like, you're listening to KEEP in the Keep. Please take a moment to tell at least one other person how much you enjoy the show. That's right. Grab that link and send it to that buddy you're thinking of who you know would be interested in what we're talking about right now. Maybe post it somewhere. I know it seems scary, but you can do it. I believe in you. Don't hesitate to leave a comment and a 5-star review, a like, wherever you're listening. And if you want, Patreon supporters for this show get episodes early, access to our secret Discord channel, chances to suggest questions to our guests, our games, and whatever else I can do for you. Every little bit helps. This podcast directly supports my ability to do what I love and take care of my growing family. The link is in the show notes. Thank you, bless you, stay in the keep. No, I really fucking truly care about people, and on the corporate side, people are like, don't get so close because you might have to look that motherfucker in the eyes and tell them they're gone. At a certain point, that's gonna suck for you. And then I was always like, I would rather that news come from someone who cares about me enough to look me in the eye and say it than to just have a mass, Christmas Eve layoff session with 30 people.
That was brutal. It was so funny too.
Mm.
I don't know how. Can we actually talk about that whole shebang?
Fuck them. If you should have put me under NDA. There's really nothing like that. I don't have anything bad to say about people involved. It's more just lessons learned, mistakes were made to me at this point. So, with all due respect to everyone who was and I was also concerned about the people who had to do this. For instance, Mikkel and Vini, our HR and our finance department, they had it worse than anybody because they had to look every single person in the eye and tell them we have to let you go and all that stuff. And it's not our fault. There's nothing we can do about it except tell you the bad news. So I felt bad for them, but to me, it's this happened to 100,000 people. I don't know how many it's been at this point, but over the course of
the whole industry.
Yeah,
it's been nuts. I don't know if 100,000 can even do it.
Yeah,
but it was so fucking funny, in gallows humor way, because we were all sitting there. We got the call if you get an email, you're laid off. So check your email. It's oh man, this is brutal. It would almost be better if you just went through a list and just told Albert Anderson, you are laid off. Bert Bergerson, you're laid off.
In reverse alphabetical order too, just to make it more annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Make it even worse. But I was sitting there, I was hyping up the entire QA department because I was like, no, don't worry about it. Guys, take a breather. It'll be fine. Me and Anna have put in a lot of work to make sure that you will not be burned here. We're pretty essential. I'm sorry to say, we're pretty essential here. And while I'm saying this, I get the notification, ding. And in the middle of my sentence, it was so ultimately just take a breather. We're not going to, oh. And I was pulled into the call, and just like you said, man, I had to get in between some explosive people who were rightfully mad. They were rightfully upset and kind of popping off at Vinny, and I had to get in between her and them. Let's all breathe here. Vinny's also in a hard position. I get everybody's mad, but let's work on finding actual solutions to what we're doing here. We need stuff in writing, blah, blah, blah. It was just so fucking funny when I was sitting there and halfway through my sentence, I get the hammer swing. It is so fucking dark. But yeah, ultimately, it's line go up. And I think that's what a lot of people in the games industry are done with. Even gamers, epic gamers, they hate the corporatism of it. They're, you know what I mean with line go up. During COVID, everybody was at home, so the games industry experienced the craziest boom in the world.
Yep.
And line went up exponentially, crazy high.
Yeah, and that happening for the rest of time,
exactly. People on our level and even executives in games industry, they know that that's not going to happen. They could see the writing on the wall, but people who are board members of some kind of evil holding company, they're going to say, why line not go up though? Can you explain that to me? Like, oh, well, COVID. Like, yeah, but why? It's the Patrick Bateman thing of like, why isn't it possible? It's just not. But why not, you stupid bastard?
It was all, in my opinion, could have been prevented by simply analyzing the data, which didn't really happen. Like, I knew the day, I remember I was talking to Jahar, the day that they announced, like, we've been acquired by Saber and Embracer Group, I was like, this is limited. Like, this is I said this will last about 2 years, and then they will realize that they're losing money. They'll audit all their books, and then they'll start closing companies. I swear to God, like this conversation happened because it's so clearly there if you're looking at the big picture. And I just made up my mind, like, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna take that risk, and I'm gonna learn from it. And this is probably gonna burn me to a certain degree, but like, I will come out understanding a lot more about this business than I would if I stay here in America and whatever. And I had a couple opportunities. Like, I had thought about moving to Poland, which I'm glad I didn't, because I would have ended up probably at like Hyper Strange or somewhere like that, which I liked Hyper Strange at the time, but they were eating up worse than we were. And then I think I had thought about trying to apply at like Dread XP too, because I was at the time close to their leadership, and then they sacked all of that leadership later. So I chose 3D Realms because it was like, what's going to look better on a resume? You know, like,
yeah, like,
and
what's going to look better when I get out of there?
And when if I go to Denmark and they offer me, this amount of money versus if I go to Poland and they offer this amount, like the next time I'm up for a job and I need to apply, which I'm not going to do now, but thinking long term, and they're like, how much are you worth? Like, what do you want for a salary? If I'm starting with Danish salary is a lot more than if I start with Polish salary.
Yeah.
It made sense, and I took that risk, and I'm glad I did. But I always felt like this is a losing battle. Like, no matter what we do, even if the games are all good and everything, makes a little bit of money, like they're spending more than they're ever going to get in return in terms of buying up all these companies. It's like,
oh yeah,
really short-sighted. And I don't know. I don't think they care. Like, I don't know anyone in the upper echelon of Embracer Group, and I don't really give a fuck to meet them at this point. But I imagine they're like, all they care about is their bottom line, like any company would. That's normal. It's not okay, but it is normal. So
exactly, it's the corporatism, which the thing about like the explosion, the implosion, really, of like the AAA and AA gaming industry is the thing of like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and what's not good for the goose is not good for the gander. But that's fine if you're not a goose.
It takes a long fucking time to make a game, but it shouldn't take 5 years and 3 times the budget to make a game. And we, on our end, like everybody, got in COVID, like we kept making up every excuse not to deliver shit, and then wonder why they start asking questions. Like, it's obvious, like, that we didn't deliver on what we were contracted to deliver, and that's just fucking true. Like, there's no reason why Phantom Fury and Graven and Wrath Aeon of Ruin should have taken as long as they did. I understand all of the circumstances that led up to this, Kingpin Reloaded, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why, like, every individual reason, but to the people in the corporate office, like, none of that shit matters. They're like, why is this product that I agreed to when I bought this company still not done? And why is it? And they would audit this shit. Like, Saber would playtest our games and be like, what the fuck is this? And I would be like,
man.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Shit, dog.
I don't have a good reason for that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Please don't cancel it, because it definitely won't make money if you cancel it. But then when especially something as small as Kingpin, is like, you look at how much money you've spent, you look at your potential return on that, and it's negative. What do you do? And I don't know. Well, Slipgate had too many fucking projects. Like, way too many.
That's 100% one of the issues. That's like what the main complaint I've heard from like everybody who got laid off was there were too many things. And like when we were in it, we were like, there are too many things. But always with the idea that let's just get them out. Let's just get them out, and then we'll have 3 projects probably, and
Even
then we can
that's
just
unheard
focus
of.
on that. It's
Like,
it's
tell me,
crazy.
name any other game studio on Earth who has more than 1 or maybe 2 at one time projects going on. You can tell me publishers who have several studios
Yeah.
working on several different things, but can you tell me another one game studio with 7 or 8 games at one time? I'd bet you can't.
No, like there are none, and if there are any, like they're probably bankrupt. 'Cause, yeah, you can't do that. You can't run that many things, but we always just had the idea that, like, once we get all these out, we can go back to a reasonable place, but, I'm just glad that in the end, like, the people who are still there, have Tempest Rising,
Mhm.
because Tempest Rising is doing fucking good. That's running numbers.
So what went through your mind when you got called into the office and it was like, "This is a sorry goodbye for you"?
Well, I wasn't even, like, called into the office, I was. But
Oh, yeah?
what yeah, it was over Zoom or whatever. Yeah, it was over Zoom, like, mass Zoom meeting. What was going through my mind, I was in shock kinda, because I was a lot of millennials are the new company men. That's the thing of, like, the boomers were company men, the Gen Xers are more, let's, make our own thing, let's open up a lemonade stand or whatever, and the millennials are, once again, the company men.
Mhm.
And sort of we will do anything. That's also why, "Oh, no, I don't need to take a break, I'll just work for 8 hours straight because 'cause we're like, if I just do well enough, my contributions will be recognized, and I'll have, like, a safe place." So I was, like, in shock because I was ready to, like, work at 3D Realms, Slipgate, and just move up the ladder little by little, make more and more money until eventually, I'm at a place where I want to be. So I was like, "Fuck, what do I do now? Shit. Well, I guess I'll just like try to find a different job, like maybe in the games industry if I can find it." Uh, Turns out every studio had a hard time at the time, so that's not happening. And I was like, maybe something else? Something else, man. Like they're surely gonna need like a tech savvy manager type in another business out there. So I was like immediately thinking, well, not immediately. At first I was just like, well, this was a gut punch. I'm just gonna like eat chips and, watch TV for a while, wallow in sadness for a bit, and then get back on the horse and look for things.
Mm.
And luckily, luckily, and in a weird way, I didn't have to do that because you know, the opportunity came along. Me, you, Mary, Oliver also got together and kind of started dreaming a little bit. Now we're at a point where it's looking up. We're all working pro bono right now, which kind of sucks, but rather I actually posted this on LinkedIn, kind of a
Mm.
cringe poll, but it's the proverb of like, a morsel in peace is better than a banquet in strife. And like the idea being that if you work with people that you really like, that you really fuck with, that's better than being at, say, a Saber where, everybody's like biting each other's heads off and you can't feel like you're yourself. But yeah,
Seeing to me, like, the
yeah.
different types of responses you get from people from different, because we had a very, like, international kinda thing going on, and, like,
Mm,
so Saber did not realize this when they pulled the plug on, like, start laying everybody off, but, you know, for the average American, when you're fired, you're gone, unless you have some sick ass contract. Like, that's the end of the fucking line, like, "Hey, it's been great, but, we can't keep you, so please leave now and don't come back, and good
mm,
luck out there. Call me if you need a reference, maybe." Um, And for the most of the contractors, that was in fact the case. Wherever they were in the world. But like for the Danes in particular, there's like this 3 to 5 month clause in every contract that's like you get severance and you keep working basically until you're done and all that stuff. So even though it was really hard for everybody, like all the Danes, like with maybe a couple of exceptions whose names will not be mentioned here, took it pretty fucking well. They're like, okay, well, I'll go, I'll be okay. I will figure this out. I will go draw unemployment or whatever the fuck until I get back on my feet and all that kind of thing. It sucks, but have a beer, peace out. And then like on the other end, all the immigrants, especially people who had like moved,
Oh yeah.
uprooted their life from another continent to be there or whatever the fuck, is like, if I lose this job and I don't find another job in Denmark, I have to leave this country. And like that was a different set of fucking it's a whole different roll of the dice. It's like, oh my god, like this like for me in my mind, like if I get laid off here, this is a lot more complicated than just like, well, I'll just go home and like go to the commune and they'll help me figure it out. And I was like, oh my god, I'm fucked. So
Yeah, because you have to go home and essentially start over, man.
yeah, but I'm very, very lucky. I'm super blessed, man. Like I kept telling you guys, like, the worst thing that could happen to me is if I have to go back to America, I'll just go back to my family farm and like plant tomatoes or some shit. I'll be okay. Like,
Yeah,
and that was
that's a
true.
pretty good gig,
It was true. I took it pretty hard and all that kind of stuff, like just the whole situation. But like that was always true for me. Is like the worst thing that could happen is I just have to go home. So, but there were not everybody was like that. There were lots of people who had like got that job, bought a house, took it on mortgage, had a couple of kids. Some people had moved, from Russia, and then started having kids and shit. Like it was crazy. Like Cloud and Aurora, like they fucking had the most epic journey of any person I've ever heard of to get to Denmark. Like, cause he was Filipino and then he had moved to Romania and then he'd like snuck into Russia somehow, married a Russian woman, and then they were in St. Petersburg somehow. And then they fucking, the war started and they had to escape and then they make it all the way to the fucking Philippines and they can't get a visa for a Russian national out of the Philippines. So they had to go back to Russia and then like sneak through Finland or I don't even know how the fuck they did it all. Ended up in Denmark, immediately have a kid. They put down roots and then it's like, oh my God, if your job's in jeopardy, like that's bad. It's like really, really not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people in that situation. So
It was fucking like I wish, man, that I had talked more to Cloud, not Claude. I want to call him Claude because
he still
Cloud.
lives there. What's wrong with you Danish people? He still lives. In
Oh
the same
shit,
city.
he's still here?
Yeah.
Fuck. I might have to hit
Literally.
him up.
They just had the
'Cause-
Tempest Rising party, like launch party or whatever, like yesterday. And
Well, I wasn't invited.
it's funny because Luke and Luca were there, and even some of the folks that were like, gone. Like Luca doesn't work for Slipgate anymore, but she was at the party because she was with Luke and all that shit. Towers was there. I can't believe you get invited. That's fucking terrible. Shame on you.
I'm
people.
sorry.
Oh my God.
No,
Anyway.
it's all good.
I didn't get invited either. No one asked me. So.
Oh, really?
I got a special thanks in the credit though for the game. I am grateful for that.
Aw,
Because
that's
all I
actually
did
sweet.
for Tempest was scream and yell at everyone every day. So hopefully that helped. It was enough that they thanked me for it later. So
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
a special thanks is a lot in that. I don't think I'm in the fucking credits, even though I was doing the QA. But
you should check. You should check.
I'll check. I'll have a look. Moby Games or whatever it's called. But
I'm
like
happy the game turned out good. By the way, people go buy Tempest Rising. Like
it's
that was-
yeah. Go buy Tempest Rising.
Yeah.
And also keep a fucking eye out on Ringfall. Keep an eye out, please.
Wishlist Ringfall and Stellar Valkyrie and Call of Sir Ragnar and follow us on X and all that stuff. And in the keep at Cottonhammer Studio. Is it studios on X?
Is that
Oh,
at
it's a-
Cottonhammer Dev? At Cottonhammer Dev. Otherwise, it would be way too long, man.
Yeah.
Like the longer it is, the worse. The worse it is.
And send us money. And,
Yeah, please.
Yes. PO. I'm just playing.
Send money to my wallet specifically.
But overall, like after I'm legitimately like I was like surprised, like because I kept up with people after the fact. And I was like, is the game gonna do well? I care about a lot of people who are still there. I'm like, I want this to go well. I always wanted it to go well. I was just terrified that it wouldn't, given the circumstances. But apparently, it happened. It's getting really good ratings. People are happy with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's pretty
kudos.
huge.
In a way, we made it. In a way.
In a way, that's
Um,
from a certain point of view.
Yeah. So how is Cottonhammer Studios like set up? Like how did you guys end up doing that?
Well, we are running it in sort of like a flat hierarchy. No, it's me and we were all sort of like going by the seat of our pants really.
Yeah.
And eventually Greg and I kind of like we had a talk and we were like, well, I want to keep working on this. I want, like, we both wanted to have our own independent, like, let's work on the shit that we want to do and let's have full control. Let's try this shit, man. Like, you know, a lot of companies have just been started with $1,000 and a good idea. We're both like, yeah, let's do it. You know, we'll set something up. We set it up and sort of started with you know, hey, if anybody in the group needs to have like a secondary gig or a like primary gig, get some money, go and do that. Secure the bag because we need to eat. But also we really want to keep doing this. And the you know, catch is the carrot is if you're in on the ground level, you know, there's probably good things in the next 5-10 years. You know, we'll probably be in a pretty good position. Like we don't have to worry about being in any industry and, you know, layoffs just suddenly happening. And so we got set up. Luckily Trevor and Greg know fucking everyone. So we got good deals on stuff like a website. We got good deals on, you know, file sharing, all that. And that really came in handy when we got Rick and Jesse there, Trevor's good friends, and sort of the idea people behind, like, what is Ringfall, like, mechanically? And yeah, we treat it as, you know, a secret company where we work, but it's not our main thing. We can't go full send on this. We have like saw some avenues for getting money so that we can actually treat it like a company and get it actually off the ground. Because if we can do that, shit, that's the start of something really big. But yeah, we do have to do different gigs and, you know, make music videos, and some of us work for like the American government, and some of us working in different games right now. I don't know if you know Gin Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Gin Hunter. That's looking really good. Like I'm on the periphery on that, but we got some people working on that as well.
We're in the keep has always been the same, and I really praise myself on this. Blow a little smoke up my own ass. Like I never understood the logic in the putting all your eggs in one basket, taking out a huge business loan, and then just trying to run a company from the jump like a large company. I took a 3-day free business class that the Air Force offered and came out of that with like, okay, reaffirming all of my prior beliefs. Instead of borrowing someone else's money, I'm just going to keep it really, really low key and very slowly, iteratively. And we've been in business for 6 years at this point. So I've at least not gone bankrupt, which I'm proud of. And, you know, and we don't just have to do like what we do on the surface. Like I have this podcast, which doesn't make like a lot of money, but it's a great marketing tool and I love doing it. So it won't go anywhere. But like the games, I'm like, look at what we had to deal with with Graven, with Wrath, with Ion Fury, like all that stuff. Like, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want somebody holding a fucking noose over my head saying like get it done or whatever. So I was just like, okay, well then everyone on the team can be part time, and I'm not gonna make those guarantees to people. I'm not gonna say like we're all doing this or whatever, and then I'm gonna give you a raise or whatever the fuck. I'm like, look, everybody's including myself. Everyone's a contractor. No matter what, the business has to stay afloat. So if we have to go get other jobs or find other sources of income or whatever the fuck, we'll do that. But we're not gonna sink the ship betting on our future selves. We'll just
No.
wait till a game comes out or a product or whatever it is that we do to make money, and then we will leave that money there, pay people what they're owed, but never step beyond what we can actually afford. I treat my personal finances that way too, with the exception my wife talked me into the mortgage, and I was like, this goes against everything I believe in, but it's necessary.
What are you gonna do? Like show up with a bag full of gold doubloons and fucking buy the whole thing outright? Like,
If it was up to me, I probably would have gone the rest of my life like that. Like until I have that bag of gold doubloons, wouldn't have bought a house. But regardless, like keeping everything manageable, like I can afford this even if this and that goes wrong. The core of the company won't go under. And so, and then I have like some of the devs working on Stellar Valkyrie. Like if another person comes along to me with a paying gig, I'm like, hey, maybe that'll make this game take longer, but this is money now and we need money. So we'll do this for a while. We'll come back to Stellar Valkyrie. And then even if that means our game doesn't come out soon, we'll never have to compromise what our game is.
yeah.
And we'll never be in danger of going out of business because we said no to money at the time. So that, I think that's the much, much brighter long-term way to do it. And if your goal is to just like inflate a company and then sell it for a profit and
then buy a fucking yacht, go to Bolivia or something. That's a good way to do it. But
if your
you're
goal is to make
completely
the
right.
art you want to make, then you can't sell yourself. It's all I'm saying. You end up with
That's
so many
exactly right,
compromises,
man.
and you end up potentially like if you build a big 250 person company, and then something goes wrong, and you have to lay off all of those people, and you're in debt.
Oh,
It's like, why do that when you don't have to? I would rather do it the way we're doing it, and I think you guys have the right idea. Of course, we had all those like tavern talks and coffee shop talks there for when you guys were first starting it, and I was like, do this, don't do that, like if but yeah, I'm really glad that lots of other people are starting to see the light in that way. It's not just me with this mindset. Look at Night Dive. They just did what they were doing for a very, very long time. And then when it made sense, they sold to someone that they trusted. Instead of just so many tech companies, period. Like you make something and then you don't even intend to like actually sell what it is that you've made. You just wait for like Google or someone to come along and acquire you and then dissolve what you did so that you don't compete with them, and then you walk away with $1 million. And like $1 million is great, but I would much rather make something I care about, and I would rather not compromise my values or my morals to get there. So
yeah, exactly. You want to have your own lemonade stand.
yeah.
Like foregoing publishers and stuff, it's both the most idiotic thing you can do and also the best thing that you can do. Like the reason that the idea, the project that I'm not going to speak too much on, kind of fell apart was because of publishing. I approached publishers and I was like, "Here's the idea. Here's the game." They were like, "We love it, but."
Yeah.
And then like, "Oh, okay. What do you need? What's like? Oh, but we need like, what's the angle? What could you add this and like add this?" And eventually, you're left with an unworkable mess, and it was all because you were trying to get that publisher money and put yourself in a position where you're beholden to someone.
Yeah.
And like the money is nice. Getting a big bag of money is nice, especially if you can do what you want. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to go for grants. We're trying to, put the logo on the splash screen and then you get the money. Just finish the game. and more importantly, like crowdfunding. We want to like, why go through a publisher? Why not just sell the game to the people
Direct to
that?
consumer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're selling it directly to them instead of going by like the big Walmart or something. Essentially, fucking drop shipping, but for games. But
Aside from the
it's
technical side of the deal, like when it comes to, you know, how you do your revenue split, what your milestone structure is, and you know whether or not they try to compromise your game and all that kind of stuff. Like the bottom line with working with any investor, publisher or not, to me is like, is your marketing arm significant to the point where if I give you 50% of my profit, the 50% I make after that is going to be more than the 100% I would have made by myself.
exactly.
And then there's the timeline part of it where it's like, with this much money, can I make the game in a short enough amount of time where I can then go on to make another thing that makes me even still more money? Or am I, because so many people end up in those deals where it's like, I'm giving you 50, sometimes 60% of my profits, and I'm not, your marketing isn't even making the game more available or more popular. It's just that I'm basically giving you money for nothing. And so many people end up in those situations where like that's always my first question is like, if you think you need a publisher, are you going to like are they going to help you reach enough more people so that you ultimately in the long run make more off of this product, whatever that happens to be, aside from whether or not they're going to change your game?
Well, yeah, that's a good question too. Like I saw the thing. It's completely tertiary to the point too. Blue Ocean Games, with a $30 million indie investment fund. They are trying to like do publishing but different, and it looks really good if it's does what it says on the tin. But the bottom line being like you could get up to $300,000 for your game. You don't even need to show us like a working like MVP. You just give us a good idea, and then we'll give you the money. But and you retain your IP rights, which is like huge. But
Yeah.
you give us 30 or 20% of the game's revenue, and you give us 20 or 30% of your full company revenue. We get stake in the company, and we get that revenue in perpetuity. Whereas, like, these deals aren't getting better, man. These deals are getting worse. Like the Lando Calrissian, this deal's getting worse all the time. And to where it really makes more sense to like just try and get some guys together, make something fun, and try to sell it for like $20. And if it sells, you make that $20, you get that money. But for the rest of it, uh, what have you lost? You're not like beholden to anybody. You haven't lost the big bucks, and you're not going bankrupt. You're not having to lay off like 100 people. So keeping it small, that was what I was saying with what's good for the goose is good for the gander, is all this AAA and AA nightmare bullshit that's going on. It's bad for AA and AAA, but it's pretty okay for indie, because what you see now is like a bunch of people who are like developers who really want to make something, but they can't get into the double or AAA industry. So what are you gonna? Well, the best routes are indie, and that's where we see like people who are swinging below their weight in a way, going into indie, but also having a good home there.
Mm.
I like it, man. Even though we're all doing this pro bono, if people want to crowdfund Ringfall and see a return to form to that whole genre and get a fucking fun multiplayer game that you can play with your friends for $20 or something like that, like more power to them. And I would be super glad to be part of that, more so than working on the next Starfield or the next Total War expansion or whatever. Even though that sounds cool as shit. Like,
that's one of the things about the whole, like, the entirety of the AAA industry that is so readily apparent, and yet, like, the average consumer doesn't technically, like, they don't ever have any reason to think about this, but, like, is this game actually better? Is this $70 new God of War actually better? Like, more bang for your buck than the $15 RPG that somebody handcrafted on Steam or on itch.io or whatever? Like, is it actually a better experience, or is it simply that they have way better marketing because they spent millions of dollars on it? Like, perfect example. Remember, I bet you remember this conversation. When I was negotiating with the UFC, and I was like, I'm gonna get, I don't remember, it might have been Graven or something, one of our games in, like, featured on the UFC or whatever, in, like, logo in the octagon shit. And
I
then
remember that.
and everybody's like, "Oh, that's fucking crazy. It's way too much money." Like, and honestly, like, it might have been too much money for projects that we had at the time, but, like, imagine if Tempest Rising or something like that, some really big
Yeah.
project that we had ended up, I was like, if I already have this connection. And then that opportunity went away. Last weekend, Doom: The Dark Ages had a custom intro for Drew McIntyre with the Doom guy on stage with him and shit as he walked to the ring. And I was like, "Fuck, bro." Like,
That's it. There it is. Somebody's doing my idea.
I'm not the first person to have this idea. But the thing is, I have nothing bad to say about Doom: The Dark Ages or whatever, but I'm just saying, is Doom: The Dark Ages really better as a game than some other equally good first-person shooter game that does everything that you would ever want a first-person shooter game to do, probably stole most of its ideas from Doom? Or is it just because it's more apparent in your mind because it has the name Doom on it and it's being advertised in places like that? Like,
Yeah.
that's why marketing is so important, and, like, it's hugely important. Like, whatever your budget is for your game, you should expect to spend 10 or so, maybe more percent on just marketing. Like, because it doesn't do you any good to make the best game in the world unless people know that it exists and want to buy it. So
Exactly.
Fortnite targeting children is why Fortnite is popular. It's not because Fortnite's a great game, because it really sucks. But it does what it's supposed to do. It's dependable, and it's in every place that you go. Like, everyone knows the name. My grandmother probably has heard of Fortnite from TV commercials and shit.
Oh yeah,
So
everybody has fucking heard of Fortnite at this point, but you're exactly right, and that's more to the corporatism part of it too.
Mm.
Like, I really think that the biggest problem in video games is the fucking corporatism. Like, once games became like the biggest in entertainment industry arm, that's when it became very hard to find good shit. I don't know if I've told you, um, people in my family actually know the guys who started IO Interactive, and this I've got a point with all this, but they told me about when they were making the first Hitman game, and these were guys who were like just smoking dope, long hair, total hippie, punk rock, outsider types. People kept being like, "When are you gonna get a real job, man? Like, you're making this silly video game. When are you gonna get a real job?" They were like, "I don't know, man. Like, maybe at some point. I don't know." And then they made like one of the biggest franchises in the universe, and it wasn't big because the new game has, the fucking marketing on a bus. It became what it is because the first game, which was made by these guys who were smoking dope, like going around on roller skates, doing weird shit, like being kind of layabouts, punk rock underground types who were just driven by passion. They made an amazing game, and that's why it became what it is. And I think that's what we need to get back to. And I've mentioned punk rock to you a lot
Mhm.
because fucking games need to get back to punk rock and be able to say like, oh, Jack Thompson thinks that games are bad for you, and they'll create a serial killer. Fuck you. Here's Postal, man. We need to get back to that. But if we just keep like skedaddling in like, oh, Doom 7 is coming out this week. Finally, We got the new Elder Scrolls, albeit, Elder Scrolls, the Oblivion remake looks really fucking good. But that has that same vibe. It has that same flavor. And I think what a lot of people need to do now is to just collectively decide, like, okay, we don't put on suits, man. We wear the hoodies, we have long hair, we're weird, we are underground outsiders, and we make cool shit. And I'm seeing inklings of that happening,
Yeah.
and I love that shit.
It's
That's
cool
what you
brought
guys
up.
are doing in a way, like Call of Ragnar and all that. Like that is the kind of shit that I would expect, like somebody who's like smoking a doobie, rolling around on roller skates. Like, when are you gonna get a real job? I don't know, man.
You're listening to KEEP in the Keep. Whatever happened to the good old days, when computer role-playing games spent more time telling great stories than stressing you out with season passes and needless grinding? Call of Ragnar is our effort to bring back the best in RPGs. Play in the immersive world as two friends adventure into a murder mystery that lands them in the middle of a battle between gods. Head over to callofsaragnar.com. That's call of SAREGNAR.com for more info, and be sure to wishlist on Steam.
Like, not to denigrate it, but it's not. You're not
But
wearing suits.
I do have a
Patrick
real job.
Bateman.
Like,
I know.
I'm self-employed and I make money. Like, In the Keep is believe it or not, a profitable business. Like, and it has been
What?
for 6 fucking years. Like, like everybody who has a contract gets paid what they've agreed to. It's not a lot, but like none of us are starving to death, and we all know what the deal is. And my mortgage payment gets paid every month, and it's okay. The thing is that I just, instead of trying to do that in 6 months with a loan, I just, like, why don't I just go work for another company and learn all this shit myself from the inside? Like, why go into debt to go to college for? I was gonna go for a game design degree. I had signed up for school and everything. I took 1 semester and I was like, this is a waste of fucking time.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, this is like literally stupid. And you talk to people I'm like, look at the people who are the top of the heat in video games. Like Tim Willits. I asked him, like, to his face, like,
Yeah.
dude, do you care? Like, do you really give a fuck if somebody has a game design degree, or like like in my case, I can show you a podcast where I have like thousands of hours of me talking to people who are more qualified to talk about video games than your fucking community college professor is, who's never published anything. So, like, which of these matters to you? And I just took that route, and it was long and arduous and everything, but like we're not going broke anytime soon. And it's taken way longer than I wanted it to, but we're making exactly the game that we want to make. So
Yeah.
I would just say to
Exactly.
people, like, why, like, which one do you care about more? Like, do you want the fast, like, don't be hedonistic about it. If you have to, compromising time and hard work for what you want is better than taking the carrot right now and not having a carrot later. So
Exactly. Like, if you're like waiting for corporatist slop and AAA slop, like, maybe, interrogate why that is. I don't think that's what most people want anymore. I think that's why we're seeing so many games, like, not just, fail, because like when we saw games fail, it's like, well, that's a shame. We've seen games explode, like, actually just like the worst failure that you've ever seen. And I think it's because people are, like, fed up. And I think it actually relates to something completely tertiary, man. It's a tangent. You've seen the Minecraft movie, yeah?
no, but I've heard people like
But
it.
but
I've
but
never
you've
even
seen
played
the
Minecraft.
but you've seen the freakouts about the chicken jockey scene, surely. It's everywhere. Like, people are Okay, well,
Shaking my head. Like, I don't know what he's talking about.
you're living under a fucking rock, bro. Like, in the theaters, when the chicken jockey scene happens, people freak out and they're throwing popcorn and, like, hooting and hollering and making a big scene. And I've seen a lot of critics be like, "This is the death of cinema. This is what's wrong with cinema because people are acting like apes. This is so uncouth." And I'm like, "No, that's the consumer, to use your terms,
Mm.
saying, hey, this fucking slop that you're giving us, it's slop. It's bad." Like, they're not hooting and hollering because they're stupid. They're hooting and hollering because you're stupid. You're feeding them slop, and you think that they're gonna sit there and act like it's Citizen Kane, like, "Oh, oh, wow, so
It's not.
poignant."
It's a Minecraft movie. Like,
Exactly, and
who walked into the Minecraft movie thinking they were gonna see a fucking, cinematic masterpiece? Like, they thought it was gonna be The Godfather Part 2 or some shit, like
well, that's the thing, right? It's definitely one of the movies of all time, but,
what is a chicken jockey? Well, what even is that?
in Minecraft, man, you haven't played it, but, there's an enemy in Minecraft with a little zombie riding on the back of a chicken, and they're, like, pretty dangerous in the game. And in the movie, they have, Jack Black is all tied up on rope, and Jason Momoa has to fight the chicken jockey, and Jack Black says, "Chicken jockey," and that's become a meme in and of itself. I have it on a soundboard,
Why is this offensive?
just
Like, what's wrong with this?
offensive. Like, it's
Yeah,
not
like,
offensive.
what is the outrage? Like,
The outrage is that, like, in the theaters, people are not just throwing popcorn. They're going actually crazy. Like, I saw a clip where somebody had a chicken. They brought an actual chicken in, and they were holding it atop their head like fucking Simba in the fucking Lion King. Like, people are going nuts, throwing everything everywhere, and like getting out of their seats and screaming. And
these aren't people, these are NPCs, man. We live in a simulation. I'm convinced of this, by the way. We
that's
live
what I'm saying. They're not NPCs. They're not NPCs. They're just regular people. And like, the reaction to the people going crazy over the chicken jockey is to deride those people and say, "Oh, why are they doing this? Do they not see?" And it's like, what are you talking about? It's the chicken jockey scene from the Minecraft movie. You're serving up slop and then being mad when people are like, "This is fucking slop." Like, no, they're informed, like, consumers, to use the fucking gross language of like Gordon Gekko types. They're informed consumers, and they're in an indirect way telling you, "Hey, if you're gonna serve me actual shit, I'm going to act like a monkey. I'm going to jump up and down and act like an idiot." So that's what I think a lot of people are doing with the games industry too. Like, you'll get a what was that one? Not even Forspoken. It was very recent. Avowed. Just a game that was such absolute garbage on arrival that everybody's just like stepping on it. Like, nobody's being kind to it. And that's the consumer. Is essentially, I hate using that word, man, but that's the audience saying, "Hey, this is slop. Why are you giving me slop? I know that it costs 13 million to make, but why? Like, I don't want this. I want Oblivion remade. I want an Oblivion remake, and I want it to be good." And that's sort of what you circumvent by making cool indie shit. You say, "Hey, this is a pretty good game. It's $15, $20. If you don't like it, it's no big deal. But we're not asking for $100 for it. We're not like expecting you to sit there like it's Citizen Kane."
it in a way, all the best games are the ones who there's a singular vision behind it. Like, maybe one or a small group of people who have like a very clear idea of what it is that they want to do. And then
Mm.
if they make it all the way to the end with that same vision, it tends to be better than like what you were talking about earlier. Like, you go to talk to a publisher and they're like, "Well, what if you added this and what if you added this and like change that and like whatever." And then by the time you have like this Frankenstein of like very short-sighted, stupid ideas that are just like some guy in the marketing department is like, "Well, this is, Vampire Survivor likes are doing really well right now. So like, what if we try to do that?" And like, well, that's not what we're trying to make here. And
Yeah, no,
there,
yeah, exactly.
like, what if you could make it more like it's the same thing you hear in like Hollywood where they're talking about, showing somebody a movie script, and then by the time the movie comes out, it's like people are mad at the director and the writer saying like, "Oh, how the fuck do you make this crap?" And it's like, I didn't intend to make crap. I had a really good idea. And so, like, Robert Rodriguez is probably one of the only him and Tarantino too, some of the more independent filmmakers that have their own money, to make what they want.
You call them auteurs, right? Auteur
But
filmmakers.
they're not beholden. Like, no one else is telling them what they have to do, and therefore, when they make something, that you're going to get what they intended for you to get. Whether or not you like that is neither here nor there, but it's something that's like pure. It's something that's real. It's something that you can say, like, you don't judge it the same way. And if I know you spent $400 million and, had all of the best people on the team and all of this fucking corporate crap behind it, and like everyone had I don't know, there was a tequila bar and a, catering and all this shit that you paid billion, like all that shit. I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, what does the final product look like? And if you tell me you did all that stuff and you still made crap, that just makes you look even worse. Whereas it's like, if I know that you guys had a $50,000 budget to make whatever game you wanted, whatever you come out with, if you make it successfully, even if it's not the greatest fucking, Citizen Kane of gaming or whatever, like you said, it's more impressive. It's like, you only had 50, like the El Mariachi, right? Was made for $7,000. The whole movie.
$7,000? Holy
Yeah,
fucking shit! I didn't know that.
Robert Rodriguez had $7,000 and just went to Mexico, found a bunch of people, and he was the entire crew. He wrote it, shot it, produced it, directed, edited it himself. Did all the music himself, and then sold it to like the fucking Spanish, direct to Spanish movie market. And it was like, it wasn't like a hit movie like fucking Titanic was, but if you only spend $7,000, everything you make after $7,000 is profit. This is every fucking indie game designer, aspiring or not, whatever out there. Like, think about this. If you only spend $7,000 on your game, maybe it's more than that, but whatever, you only have to make $7,000 back before you start making profit. If you spend $250,000 on your game, you have to make $250,000 back and then split that profit 50% or whatever with your publisher, and 30% before either of you touch it goes to Steam.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, think about the situation you're putting yourself in, and not that that's wrong. There's certainly publishers I would love to work with because I trust that they have a really strong marketing arm. Hopefully, excuse me, depending on the project, hopefully you have really, really strong marketing. That should be your like number one priority with a publisher. I would rather take $0 from a publisher who has a huge marketing arm than I would take $250,000 from a publisher who has 10,000, people on X or whatever the fuck. Or some way that I know that they're going to get my game in front of people. Because it's like, now I owe you money and you're not going to sell copies.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it. Like, now I owe you money and I'm not gonna be able to make it back, and it's your fault.
Yeah, like if you make a game, any game, and you put it on Steam at all, like anything, like porn, if you want, you'll probably make like $10,000 over time. So if you spend $500 in your basement or whatever, on Mountain Dew and cocaine or whatever gets you through making that game, but you make a game that makes even $501, you've turned a profit. But if you have 70 people working on this fucking like Frankenstein monster and you're splitting all that money and you're taking a fucking $250,000, $1 million loan, whatever the fuck, now you're fucked. You're screwed in the long term. There's your chances are much lower of being successful. And that's the reason to be indie. That's why. It's like you don't owe anybody anything.
You know the people who made What the Golf?
What's that? Gulf of America or
Triband, Triband, I think they're called. I was over at a thing that they held to talk about like games and like, what do you do? What's up? And this was like at this point years ago, right? I went with Gustav and all those guys, and they basically went over like if you're a indie developer, here's what you do. Start small. Like one of their tactics, and I'm giving the secrets away for free. One of the tactics is make a fucking tech demo. And I keep seeing this actually with like game jams and these like indie developers that suddenly they're just sprouting out of the ground. It's almost as if they were working with game companies and then they're no longer working there, and they come up with like the sickest ideas, and they do devlogs of like, today I added this feature to my little tech demo, and it's just the smallest thing in the world. But I look at that and I'm like, you probably made this with a full budget of $1,000, and if you put this on Steam right now, it would make more than $1,000. So keep picking at it, keep making it bigger and better, and then put it on Steam. Yeah, exactly like you said, like $7,000. You only have to make $7,000. How much is that in Steam sales? I'm not saying forego publishers because that's kind of insane. It's, but it might behoove you and stay small, like just like you said. In a perfect world where Ringfall explodes and everybody loves it, I will never. I say never, but I don't know. As I see it right now, I would never get more than 25 people on board, including me, at any given time. Because even 25 people, that sounds like a lot to me.
Anything more than 10, maybe 12 people, you have to start delegating authority. Like that's one of the first things that I like really brought to the table. I think with Slipgate, it was like, okay, I'll give you the best example. I walked in. I'm not going to say the name of the game. People could probably put it together. But I walked into a sprint meeting. I was supposed to take over a project. There's like 60 or more people for 2 hours in a meeting where they're going over everything all at once. And I'm like, okay,
oh, right, yeah.
yeah. I'm like, why don't you just have a 30-minute or 1 hour meeting with just the leads of each department and the producer and the director? And then, because also there's like all this international shit too. It's not just the number of people in a meeting, but it's like scheduling times for when you have people in this country and this country and this country and this times, all that stuff. Like, and then let that lead go have their own individual meeting with their team. Because there's like no reason why, if I'm the rigging person on the rigging team, I don't need to spend 2 hours of my working day listening to 99% shit I do not care about and does not have anything to do with me. Just to be
that's fucking ass backwards.
Turn my camera on and my microphone on for 5 seconds and be like, yeah, we're good. Click. This is fucking stupid. This is a huge waste of time, and it's demoralizing to the people who are doing it. I'm like, why don't we just delegate? So anytime you have more than 10 people, like each group of 10 people should have a leader, delegate, make a nice hierarchy chart. It's very simple. Been since the time of Moses and Jethro, this has been the way. It always has been. It always will be. No one person can carry 60 people on their back. Like, you can't even remember 60 people's fucking names.
No.
If you have like
no way.
3, 5, 10 people, you'd be like, how's your wife? Oh, you're sick today. Okay, I can handle that. That's fine. But when it's like 70, 80, 100, 250, whatever the fuck people, and they're all like running around like chickens with their head cut off, and then they need to get something done, they go to the boss, and the boss is like, who the fuck are you? I don't know who you are. What tribe are you from? Like, who is your father?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what project you're talking about, man. But it surprises me because in the QA department, that's what I did, man. Like, I went to all the sprint meetings and all that shit. All the testers were very welcome, but I was like, don't come, because we'll have a startup for 15 minutes in the morning. I'll tell you exactly what went down. You don't have to spend exactly like you said. 2 hours is insane, but we would have like 1 hour meetings, not be like, this is a sprint meeting. for an hour, bro, it's not supposed to go this long. If everybody does that in any given department, that's gonna go fucking nuts. But that's where the flat hierarchy comes in. Like, flat hierarchies sound really nice,
If you have
but
12 people, a flat hierarchy is perfect.
it's workable, it's
If
doable,
you have
but in
250 people, you need 10 flat hierarchies minimum. Like, you know what I'm saying?
10 flat yeah, 10 flat hierarchies in an arranged order from top to
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So this person reports to this person, and this person reports to that person, and that way you don't have to talk to. There's no reason why, like the King of Rome does not stand in front of the entire country and all at once tell everyone and address every individual issue. You need to have your advisors all come to you like, these are the problems of this region. These are the problems of that region. Talk to the budget guy and figure out how we can best spend and how many men we can allocate. Play an RTS game and then play Civilization like for 3 hours and then start a company. If that's it's a better deal.
Well, it's it's a very Danish thing to want flat hierarchies, but even in a really small group, it can't be done. Like, it's you know, too many cooks in the kitchen. That's a saying, but what if every cook was in every kitchen at the same time? All of them sticking their finger in the fucking soup.
Or
In
worse, like
ev
there's a kitchen full of like sous chefs and no chef. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Tell
like
nobody to tell you what to do. It's flat hierarchies sound really nice on an emotional pathos level because no, nobody's better than anybody. It's like, no, I'm not saying that anybody's better than anybody, but some people just need to be told, like, no, here's exactly what needs to be done by Monday. Don't think too much about it. You do this, and I'll go talk to the emperor or who the fuck ever.
do you know what the word sergeant means?
No.
It means literally in French, servant.
Oh, so
Like,
the sergeant is like to the general. That's their servant.
and to the people below you. Like, I never thought about like when I put on like staff sergeant or whatever, I didn't think about it like I'm in charge now. I'm the big man on campus. I'm like, now I am responsible for all these people. Like, now I have 3 or 4 people and every other person who works when I'm on duty under me are my responsibility. It's like, it's not as simple as like I'm in charge of you and you'll do what the fuck I tell you to. It's like your problems are my problems. I am here to make your life better. You're here to make my life better, but I'm here to make all of your lives better. And that's the way I think people ought to look at it in a quite literal sense. Like, I'm not here to boss you around. I'm here to help you. I'm here to take your problems and make them not problems for you and therefore not for the whole group. Because if you have like one person who's, I don't know, just use Slipgate as an example. You
Yeah,
have
why
one
not?
marketing dude who shows up fucking like half the time fucked up and angry and upset, all like throwing shit at the wall. That's a problem for the whole company. So you have to take that dude and shove him in a fucking room and put a door between him and the rest of the company or get rid of him. That's the other option. That's what I would have chosen, but they gave me an office. So
Yeah, they
like,
give you the nice office. They give you
I
the fucking nice one.
kind of took it, if you want to. Like, I remember I think Vini or whatever published like that. This is the new seating chart, and they put like us across from, I don't know, like production or whatever, and then like all the meeting rooms were still meeting rooms, and I just screenshotted it and rewrote like I crossed out meeting room and I put former meeting room number 2 will now be the marketing office. Pasted that into the announcements chat. Showed up early, like at like 6 o'clock the next day, and moved all my shit in there, and just waited for someone to say anything about it. No one did, so.
Well,
We
no,
just said,
I'm talking about the downstairs next to the fucking QA.
oh,
Yeah, the nice one. You had your own little kitchen, man. You had your like it was
we
nice, bro.
we
It was fucking good.
we really needed, uh regardless of that, like, we needed a door between us and everyone else, or otherwise we couldn't honestly talk about what was going on. Because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody at all. It's just like, if we know something's about to get canceled or shit canned or whatever the fuck is gonna happen, and I can't openly talk about that because the dude across the hall is overhearing me explain this, that's bad for the whole group. And
Yeah.
so I was like insistent, like George was too. Like we have to have a safe space to have conversations at, and it can't just be like it was so annoying. We'd be like game launch day or whatever, and we don't want to be around the whole group, and then we'd have to take over a meeting room, and then somebody would come in on Friday morning and be like, "Could you guys like get out of our way so we can have breakfast?" I'm like, "You don't fucking deserve breakfast. You haven't even shipped a game. You're shipping a game.
Yeah.
We're publishing a game today. What are you doing? Like having breakfast?" Like,
No, I remember the vibe. I definitely remember the vibe. And in that situation, you need a locked door and a big red telephone that goes directly to George and
Yeah.
goes directly to Fred and whoever.
and you guys
But
too, like QA. That was one of the things that I fucking frustrated the shit out of me. I was like, dude, if QA tells you to do something, you kind of have to do it. Like, I hated the whole you having to argue with game directors shit. I'm like, if you tell this motherfucker to fix something, that should be his first priority until it's done. Like, end of discussion. And I remember
well,
like you struggling with that.
that was the thing. Like, it was only at the very tail end where I was like, yeah, I was talking to like the top brass, like the upper management and stuff. Like, I was like, yeah, I have to put my foot down and say like, no, you have to do this. And they were like, well, you always had that power. I was like,
Yeah,
excuse me, like I can tell people no, and this is final. And they were like, yeah,
yeah,
you could cut out whole sections of a game if you want, like, and if it makes sense. I was like, "Why did you not tell me? And why did you make it seem like I was beholden to these motherfuckers?" I came in and afterward I was like, "No, actually, this is how we're doing it." And it was way too late for any of that. I wish I'd
yeah.
done that more often.
I think
I tr
QA, marketing, and especially finance should be like at the top of the heap in a company like that. Like, if if your finance guy comes over and tells you to do something, that should be the first thing. Because
Yeah.
like if he's not happy or she's not happy, guess what? None of us are getting paid. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Numbers are not happening the way I want them to. We need to structure it so it does.
yeah.
Like,
Like
tell
I would
people
really
what to
like
do.
to I'd like to spend the next 6 weeks in another sprint on this new idea that I just had or like polishing blah 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 or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, that's great and all, but that's 6 weeks of 5 people's salaries that now have to be reallocated for you. And so if this guy says no to that, then it's not happening. And that's another reason, like if you want to have that kind of power, you have to remain indie because then you don't have to deal with that side of the business. Um, and then there's always going to be passion. And there should be passion. Like there should be people who are like standing up and arguing for their point of view. Like I think the game will be better in the long run. But like you have to make the case. Like okay, if you spend 6 weeks polishing these trees, am I going to make back more money than what it cost me to let you do that?
Yeah, nah. I don't know if you're referring to the actual tree that I'm thinking of. That was a fucking debacle, man. Like, big learning experience. I think we both learned a lot from working at Slipgate and be able to bring that to the fore. Like, just now, some of us were talking about, not me, but some of us were talking about it in Cottonhammer. Like, maybe we should make like a small, tiny thing, put that out there, just like as a tech demo, and I tried to, like, in a very diplomatic way, be like, "No, I don't think so," but in my mind, I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding right now?
I I
Are
think
you fucking joking?"
I think it makes sense to like any company, but like as an indie company, like it would be better to have 3, 5, 10 small projects out there making you money passively, and then once you have that revenue source, focus on the Big Mac and Opus thing, the thing that you all wanna make. Like, Call of Ragnar has been in development for, like, 10 years, maybe more at this point. I came in after several years of it already being worked on. There was already a demo at that point, and I don't know when the end is because, like, until I'm 100% sure I have, like, the funds to make it exactly like I want to, like, it's not really going to progress a lot. Like, it'll just be going at the pace of 3 people working on it. And that's okay. I'm not upset about that. But if you are, if you're in one of these situations where you have an end date, like you have to finish it at this point, and you have to earn a certain amount of money back, and you can only spend so much money to get there. Like there's just too many moving parts to be able to make those creative decisions. Like I'm going to spend 6 weeks working on trees. It's just different.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
all the more reason to be indie. And to your on In the Keep side, and I hope that you guys relatively do the same. Once I'm done with Stellar Valkyrie and the 2 or 3 other games that I do after that, and they're all out there, and whether they make $1 million or whatever, I don't care. But they're just sitting there accruing income, because they're available and people could just continue to buy them and keep up with the marketing or whatever the fuck. Then I have money to play around with, and if I want to come back to Call of Ragnar and say like, okay, I'm gonna put 20 grand into this or whatever, 30. I don't know, if I make $500,000, just fund the whole game. Then I can make those kinds of calls. But like, there's so many instances of people who are just quite literally spending money they don't have to try to do something that is not that important. And having that oversight where someone can step in like a QA lead and say, this is not the priority. The priority is that this entire system breaks down. Can we focus on that? Because this way it's nice because you get to look at a pretty tree, and this way it's nice because the game doesn't break when you go to look at the tree. Can we agree on that? And it can be hard to have those conversations too, because the person who's in charge of trees is always trees are your number one priority.
Yeah.
Obviously. And when you set up a company, period, like even if it's a small company, like one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was like, you have to have at the O level, like clearly defined roles. Like you can't have your CEO also be your CFO. Because your CEO is always going to want to make shit like Fred Schreiber, great example. Always going to have like that super creative, like hardcore energy, like, oh yeah, we can do this and we can do that and we can make this, and it'll be like, and if he's also the finance officer, finances will always be second to executive. Like, you know what I mean? So you need to have 2 people who equally represent those roles, and your operations officer should be the same, and your tech officer should be the same. Because the last thing you want to do is have a great, amazing idea, and you don't have the technology or the money to make it happen, or the operations to make it happen. And so
exactly.
it's just important that all of those people sit on a even playing. That should be your flattest hierarchy. Should be at the very top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like if I want something to look a certain way, I can say it as much as I want, but if Greg is not fucking with it, if he's like, no, that's not possible, sorry. Like he'll say that and I might be like, damn it, man. Why isn't it possible? It's just not. But that's the thing. Actually, you said like Magnum Opus. I think Magnum Opus is a dangerous fucking word and is a dangerous concept because everybody treats their first thing like it's their Magnum Opus. And I'm of the different, opinion. Like I've written so many stories that it's silly and none of them will ever be the Magnum Opus.
Yep.
But when I started writing in earnest, I was like, my first story, it has to be, the Game of Thrones of its time. I have to make the Magnum Opus. And it was only once I got over that I was able to write like just write a short story. Give me 5,000 words and make it interesting.
Right. The Lord of the Rings was not Tolkien's first time putting pen to paper. That's
exactly. It's the T.S. Eliot situation of verse not good enough to warrant so much of it. But I'll try to like in my own like sometimes brutal way help people when they're like kind of spinning their wheels like that. Because I knew a guy who was like, I didn't know him, but he was present in a space that I was. He was like, I'm working on so many projects and I'm like a prolific writer. I'm prolific. I write every day. And I was like, show me one story. He was like, well, I haven't actually finished any of them. Like, okay, pick one story that and finish it. Next week I want you to come back and tell me I finished it. Here you go. Please read it. And he was like, well, I have this one script and this fan fiction and this and I have this and the no, stop. You're working on 5,000 different stories, and all of them have to be your magnum opus, and you're spinning your wheels, and you're never gonna get anywhere. Just make something.
You're listening to KEEP in the Keep. If you love this show and you love supporting indie video games, please take a moment to check out In the Keep's upcoming Stellar Valkyrie. Built in the GZ Doom engine, this retro first-person shooter puts you in the universe of space bird bounty hunter Falco, who is on a mission to save his ex-girlfriend from the evil Black Star cult. Just type birdgame.space, that's BIRD game.space into your browser. Hit enter, smash the wishlist button, and stay tuned.
And I'm the same way with Ringfall. I'm sure in a way that you're the same way with the Call of Ragnar, where Ringfall is never going to be any of our magnum opuses. There's not going to be a magnum opus. I don't want to fucking hear that word. I want to make a cool game. Hopefully that does really well, and if it does, we can make another cool game, and another, and then eventually we'll have 10 cool games under our belts. We'll all have enough money to buy like a steak once in a while, and none of us will rip our hairs out because we didn't make Oblivion. We didn't make the original Battlefield or whatever. Like, who cares? It would be cool to make something that everybody loves, but I think it's so fucking dangerous to even say the word magnum opus.
Eventually you can do that, but it's probably going to happen in your mid 40s when you have all your checklists down. It's like, okay, I have steady work, I have a house, I have a wife, I have a kid, I have a tree, I have a dog. All of my I don't have any additional things that I need to worry about before, and I have some money. Now I can play around. That's why everything happens in 30-year cycles with zeitgeist and art. It's movies made in 2030 are gonna be set in the early 2000s because the people like you and I will be old enough and will have the stability and the money to make the shit that we've always wanted to make, right?
That's actually a good point, yeah.
And that's true of everything. That's why fucking Stranger Things comes out in 2015 because it's set in the 80s by people who grew up in the 80s who are now old enough to make the shit that they always wanted to make. That's why that happens. So delaying your gratification and having reasonable goals, stepping stones on your way to whatever we're not going to use the word, but your big thing is okay. I've had a couple, one script in particular that I've just shelved since the dawn of this company because I knew I couldn't, afford to make it. Eventually I will do that game and I will be very proud of it when it comes out. But I literally couldn't have done it the way that I wanted to at the time. The whole team was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's just make this Spacebird game instead because that's an attainable goal. And even was bigger than, we could have imagined in terms of actual execution. I didn't know that I was going to go spend 2 years in Europe not working on it. So, but even that was okay, but if I spend these 2 years over there with Nikolai, and all that shit, learning about this stuff, I'll be better at making this game when I come back to it. So I'm hoping, I don't think Stellar Valkyrie is going to be the greatest game ever made, but I do hope that the delay, the effort that was put into setting that aside to do something bigger to come back to it will show in its final release. It won't be the same game I originally envisioned. It won't be as what's the word I'm looking for? It will be the version of this game that happens when you know a lot more, with 4 or 5 more years of experience in the industry than I use that word. Than I would have if I had just thrown something together in 6 months and said, okay, fuck it. Because my original idea was let's spend a couple grand, make a FPS in the Doom engine. We'll take 6 months maximum to do it. We'll put it out there. It'll make a couple $1,000s. We'll reinvest into the next thing. That was always the goal. Like, it was never to make the fucking greatest game of all time. I already have the greatest game of all time. It's sitting on a shelf, and it will come out when I'm ready. It just only
Well,
exists in my
yeah.
head, and only I can play it. So
Well, once you do pick up the greatest game of all time from the shelf and actually start making it, you're gonna have so many games under your belt and so much experience and it'll be so much easier to make because you'll have so much more knowledge that it's not gonna be a magnum opus for you. It's just gonna be, this is the fucking project I always wanted to make. But the magnum opus, it has like this vibe of like, the meme of like, nobody thought Obama could ever do it. Oh, nobody thought Obama could do it. Nobody
right,
thought that you could do it, but
you
there,
don't run.
here he is.
You run for
Yeah, exactly.
mayor, senator. Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
So like I'm not sure if there are any like young guys in their 20s like thinking, I want to be the game designer. I have this brilliant idea in my head listening right now. But if you are, fucking stop. Make something small and something attainable and send it to me, and then I'll be very happy that you did, and then you can go on to do the next thing. Because otherwise you're gonna spin your wheels. Like when I
Yeah.
had my biggest, like, I also have, everybody has that game that they want to make, that they, it's their magnum opus, and it's gonna sit on the shelf maybe. But if I started that when I started in the gaming industry, one of the questions I had was, what is the Godot engine or Godot or whatever? Like Unreal Engine, where do you get that? Like, I was so fucking ignorant, but I
I
still had
still don't
this
know the
idea.
answers to those questions. I just have people who do know around me. I just delegate. Um,
I'm in the shit, man. I'm like, I own the mechanic shop, but I'm underneath the tires, fucking scraping rust off a Buick. It's getting in my mouth, getting my eyes and into my bloodstream. But I like that. I like doing that shit. But at the time, I was so ignorant, but I had ideas. Even now, I'm like, I'm in no way ready to make that game. I can mull on it, but
yeah.
no, it's not gonna happen. Not before 2030, bro. Not
Like,
before then.
for instance, I'll always bring him up, but like my friend Bridgeburner interviewed John Romero one time, and it was the opening line was the funniest thing in the world to me because it's like so prolific. He goes, "Well, let's talk about your early work," and he says Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, and John Romero goes, "Well, Wolfenstein was like my 87th game."
Yeah, exactly.
No exaggeration. Like, literally, it's like the 87th game I published. And I'm like, that's the answer. That's how you get to that point. You just
Yeah.
make them. It's like when I started Stellar Valkyrie, my Moby Games list or whatever would have read exactly. And
Yeah.
when I finish Stellar Valkyrie, my Moby Games it'll be something like Postal, Ghostware, Slayer X, Super Buff, Rip Out, Kingpin, Phantom Fury, Heading Out, Tempest Rising, Command and Conquer, and Stellar Valkyrie. So like that'll be okay. I'm fine with that. Like I'd
Yeah.
prefer it that way. Yeah. If I needed to go get a job somewhere and they're like, "What have you worked on?" And at the time that I originally came to work for Slipgate or 3D Realms or whatever, the answer was nothing. And now it's like, well, I did all these games. All of this stuff, like, I all have my name on it. What do you think of any of those? There's some in there I'm more proud of than others, but whatever.
Yeah. Like, I actually just checked just because, you
Oh,
mentioned
let me
Moby
look you up.
Game. I'm on Tempest Rising, and I'm very thankful. Thank you guys if you're listening. That's huge because yeah, the numbers on that, they don't really line up with what I did and what I done did, but there it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
That is fine, but it's always like when I talk to young guys who are like in the artist space or want to make games or want to make movies or want to like write stories, I always take on like the persona of a jaded grandpa almost, where because they're all like, I want my first thing to be, yeah, like Citizen Kane. And I know who they are because I was them. I was you. You listening right now, I was you. Shut up and make something. Like I don't care about your big aspirations and how prolific you are. You haven't made one thing. Show me one thing. And if you are, then you know what? You get a kiss on the cheek and you get a pat on the ass. And I'll tell you, you know what? That was great. Go make something again.
I'll throw someone under the bus because I love them so much. Who is the head of production at 3D Realms?
Kim.
Right. Kim has 2 games. Ever.
Well, he wasn't in the game industry before he came on. That
I know.
was like the thing.
Yeah, and it's not a criticism. Like, he did a bunch of
No.
tech shit before he came to the games industry. And yet, Kim is 489 years old, and I'm 29. And I'm just like, from a games perspective, like, what have you done? I made a lot more games than Kim has. No disrespect to Kim. Love Kim.
No disrespect.
It's
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, what do you want your body of work to look like? And what's more valuable at the end of the day? Like, I think John Romero's probably made 87 games since Quake. So,
Oh, like abso-fucking-lutely, like
Yeah.
shit that you haven't seen, shit that he's just made a full ass game like in the like DOS, right, on an old computer that he dusted off, and he made a full ass game. He made Skyrim on a DOS computer and just threw it away because it was like, yeah, no, it wasn't what I wanted.
According to Moby Games, John Romero to date has published 144 games.
Bro.
And I bet you that doesn't include all of the stuff that he wrote as a teenager and was just publishing in magazines and shit.
No, fuck no. Like that was the thing. Like back then, you would get a floppy disk in a magazine. Like I was barely even born at the time, but like I know about that, right?
When he started off, because he grew up in Tucson, like at the same,
Oh,
he
shit.
literally grew up on the same Air Force base that I served on. And they had those old computers where you would print code and then you would feed in, like the dot machine, you would feed that into the computer to do
yeah.
shit. So before they even were shipping floppy disks around, they would, in the magazines, like write out the code, and then you would, at your home computer, your, I don't know, Amiga or whatever the fuck, your Apple II, but more likely, type that code into your machine and hit enter, and then play that game if you typed it incorrectly. That's
Yeah.
crazy, but that's how it was. And
That is
Yeah.
nutty, man. That is nutty. But yeah. So in so many words, like just get shit done. Get small things done, like the tri-band guys, were harping on. They kept saying, just make a small tech demo. Like once in a while, we'll just, have people. They were a small company too at the time. I don't know how big they are now, but they were like, we'll just have people like send them to their desks and they'll just make a little tech demo. And at the end of the week, we'll look at it and, oh, that's cool. Like a little blog that hops between like, platforms and, you can speed up. So you become like a flubber, like Flubber of the game 2D. Imagine that. That's already a tech demo that you can make out there. And if it's really good, then we just put some graphics, slap some graphics on it, slap some more logic on it, put some art on it, and put it on Steam. And there it is, a super cheap game. Nobody in that room made Skyrim 2. Nobody in that room made Doom the New Age or whatever. Like, they just made a cute little fun thing. They had a full ass office in Copenhagen. I don't know. A lot of people probably don't know, but that is expensive as fuck. Like you can't do that if you don't have a good turnaround money wise. So they were doing okay. Keep it small, keep it simple. That's what we're doing, man. Like every time like a really big idea crosses the the airwaves, I want to bat it down like an angry cat. I'm like, no, no, we're not doing that. No, 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 nope, absolutely not.
It's 90% of an executive's job is to say no.
Yeah. And they'll keep me in check too.
Mm.
I'll be like, oh, we can do this, and like, no, okay. Usually it's Trevor saying like, no. I'll be, fuck, fine.
Yeah.
I'm not fine, but it's not what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. We're like, oh, can we have key lime pie? It's like, no, like, but I want key lime pie. I was like, well, we don't have any limes, so
Yeah.
you're just gonna have key pie.
Key pie. You can make a key pie. That would be
Yeah.
cool. Or we
Can
could
we
just
get
have
lime
like or we could just have sardines on rye bread. We have that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say, but keeping each other in check like that, that is the only way that a cool idea survives.
True. And like having that like open collaborative process where people feel comfortable telling someone no, I think is also really important. We touched on that a bit earlier with like QA department stuff, but like that you can't have like someone who just runs away with every idea they have all the time and doesn't respect when other people tell them like we can't do that or it would be better if we did this or whatever. And like and every person that's the argument I guess for a flat hierarchy in a lot of ways. It's like everyone feels comfortable telling this other person like no or not reasonable or this is why or whatever the fuck, you know. And then also at the same time, but hey, what if we did this? Like, let's divert from that plan. And that's also good too. Like, I know you have this really in mind, but like, it would be, what if we had this idea? What if we changed it this way? What, you know, and it's like that kind of creative insight from sometimes from the bottom where it's like, you realize that, you know, things have been done a certain way for a certain amount of time and like, oh, but there's a better way to do it. And being able to go and say, what if we changed the whole process of how we do this? It would be more efficient. It would be easier on me. If you could make my job easier, I could do more things for you and or you know, in a faster amount of time or whatever. That kind of stuff. So, yeah, running a company's hard.
It
But
is, man.
you guys will do fine, I'm sure.
I'm sure once we get an actual MVP out and we can start actually, you know, showing that shit off and say, hey, you know, here's the idea. Here is a little more than the basic, you know, non-textured buildings and we have multiple guns. Here's the actual idea. You guys want to pay for it? I'm confident that at least some people are going to be like, yeah, you know what? I'll throw you a $5.
Yeah.
I'll give you $10 if you know if you need help funding this shit. And it's in truth, yes, we do. We're all fucking hungry. We can't afford steak, please.
It also helps like from your side of the if you're looking for funding, whether that be from a crowd of people or whatever. If it was like when you look at a lot of these like indie devs with like a Kickstarter or whatever, it's like, what is this? And they're like, it's my first game ever, and it's the only game I've ever wanted to make, and I just can't wait for everyone to see this amazing idea that I've been working on for 15 years finally come to life. Not quoting anyone in particular, but in your guys' case, it's like if you're going to a publisher, if you're talking to a crowd of people or whatever the fuck it is, and they're like, well, what have you done before? Like, what reason do we have to trust that you'll actually be able to do what you're saying you're going to do? And everybody on your team has been involved in lots of games, you know, or many different projects and has experience. And so it's like, well, if we could all do that. Imagine what we could do without you know, without our hands tied behind our back, basically. Like, this is what we would do if we could do whatever we wanted. And that's a big selling point, like huge. How many companies do you know of where it's like, well, several industry veterans or whatever the fuck from this, you know, like they broke off and then they went and did the other thing that they wanted to do. And they're like, oh, well, I trust them because they worked at, I don't know, like someone left Adobe to make a Bode or whatever. Or
Oh my
someone,
god! You know what?
yeah.
I would buy that in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah.
If the real ones from Adobe went and actually made something that was not under the Adobe name, oh, you better believe it, buddy. I would fucking buy that.
Yeah, a lot of people would. And
And even yeah, like saying for example, like Black Isle is a really bad example because they were the real ones behind like Fallout 1 and 2. But if somebody said like Black Isle, they're, it's not Obsidian. Let's say Obsidian. We're splintering off. We were some of the creatives behind Fallout New Vegas and all the good ones. We're making Fall in New Nevada, whatever, something that they wanted to make, and they have, I know they're a known quantity. I'm buying that. I'm wish listing that actually.
What?
And
That
wish listing
happens.
wish listing is all I can ask for. If you like this, if you like old COD and old Halo, wish list this, please. And once it's done, once we have a GMC, you'll get a ping, go look at it, and if you want to pay $20, here's a fucking cool game for you. And I know Greg, and I know what he likes and what he wants to do with the visuals. It's gonna be fucking cool. Like, I'm not even blowing smoke up my own ass because this is like my game. But I just fuck with Greg's vision that hard.
What was the comparison I said? It looks like G.I. Joe meets Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually showed him, and I was like,
Yeah.
Greg, Tyler gets it. And he immediately came back, yes, you fucking get it. Yes. It's like,
It's good.
exactly, like, that's the fucking vibe and all the particulars. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna be our magnum opus. And if anybody's listening right now with a not 15-year-old, but like a 2-year-old Google Doc that's like 92,000 words, but it's never gonna be finished. Like, stop what you're doing. Open up a new Google Doc, write a cool outline, and make that, or a Miro board, or whatever. Like, something small, something that you could do. I want to see it done next year. And if it's not done next year, I'm coming to your house and I'm killing you.
I love the scene in Fight Club where he is at the convenience store. He takes the guy out back and he's like, takes his wallet. And he's like, what did you, like, did you want to be a gas station attendant? And he's like, no. And he's like, what did you want to do when you were a kid? And he's like, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And he's like, why aren't you a veterinarian? And he's like, too much school. And he's like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep your wallet. I know where you live. I'm going to come back to you in like 2 weeks. And if you're not on your way to being a veterinarian, I will come pay you a visit. And then he's like, walks away. And the other guy's like, the narrator, he's like, why would you do that? You're fucking crazy. And he's like, tomorrow morning, his breakfast will taste better than any breakfast he's ever had in his entire life. He'll have a whole new outlook on everything. And I think, like, in many ways, like the layoffs were a good thing because it lit a fire under so many people's ass to like, what am I doing? Like, why am I sitting here and letting myself be in this situation when I could be out there doing the thing that I wanted to do all along, which is to make cool shit and hope that people enjoy it. And, have that artistic vision, whatever it is in your mind, like, come to fruition. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be that one big thing. It could be like, slow drip, you don't inject all the morphine at one time. You let it, just little tidbits, just enough to keep you going until you get there. And then, then when you're about to die, that's when they hit you with the full dose. It doesn't matter anymore.
That's when they hit you with a full dose of fentanyl.
Pocket.
No, but it is true what you're saying, man. Because like when I was at Slipgate, I was in the millennial company man mindset, and it really is the new company man. I'm not making any aspersions because one's not better than the other. It's just different.
Yep.
Getting out of there, I was like, well, you know what? How about why don't we just start our own fucking thing? Like, what's stopping us? Like, we already made a cool little game in 2 weeks, and I can't speak too much on that project, but essentially, no, it was 1 month, but in 1 month we made one project. And sure, we were like four or five people, but then, you know what? Get 4 or 5 of your friends together make a commitment to each other that, when we're not, in school or when we're not like at our jobs, we'll work on this thing. And in 1 month, you might have a cool little project that you can put on Steam, and it might do a buckshot roulette. It might become it might be the new web fishing. Dude, that was sort of a flash in the pan, but you remember web fishing. It's the concept so simple, so small. You could make it in a month or less, and it made gangbusters.
Before I left Europe, like kind of like it was everybody knew I was like leaving and everything, but I went to Prague and I was just like sitting at a pub with George and he was like, having that, what are you gonna do now? Like if you need
Yeah.
any references, apply or whatever the fuck. And I was like, I thought in my head, and I said this to George at the time. I was like, a lot of people are gonna walk away from this situation like bitter and angry, and they're gonna, and they're gonna the next thing they're gonna do is go apply for more, jobs similar to what they did before, and they're gonna be beholden to someone else to like decide whether or not you're valuable to them and all that kind of shit. And I was like, and that's fine, but I'm going to not do that at all. Like I'm going to walk away from this and I'm just going to go double down on In the Keep. Like, and it might take me a while, but I'm going to take everything I've learned here and I'm just going to be my own boss from now on. Like, I don't ever want to be in this situation again where I'm like stuck and I can't get anything done and I feel helpless to help anybody or do anything or complete anything because, there's so many moving parts going around. Like, I'm just going to do that. It makes more sense. And
if if everything falls apart, at least you know who to blame, right? Like, fuck, that was my fault, right?
when I'm 60 years old, I don't want to look back at my career and just be like, see like a series of jobs that I did for other people to make them happy. Like when I look grandkids or whatever, like, what did you do? What did grandpa do? It's like, I'd rather have said like, oh, well, in my 20s, I started a company and, and even if it doesn't work out, like, and then I started another company and I did a bunch of shit. I went all over the world and I did all these things like, or do I just want to say like, I worked at, a one company for my entire life. I got a watch when I left and that's it. And it's a boring story. It's not as interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be the phoenix that rises from the ashes than I would be just the person who like never did anything interesting. So yeah, I try to always just think in the long term, like, well, who do I want to be? What is my story going to be? And for me, it won't be, got fired once or whatever, and then just played it safe after that. That's nobody wants that. That's lame.
Yeah. Got a job at Kroger, and then I was
Yeah.
there for however many years. It's man, that actually brings a lot to mind. But like the whole idea of being like, I'm a company man, and I can't believe it, they sacked me. It's like, yeah,
Company doesn't
you're a
care about
company man. You're a company man. That means you're expendable. You're one of the expendables in the movie.
Mhm.
You get killed at the first sign of danger. And if you didn't want to be that, maybe you should make web fishing. Maybe you should make something cool.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to die anyway, you're going to be broke anyway. Might as well be broke doing something you like doing.
That's the morsel in peace.
Yeah, man. It's been super cool catching up with you and all that stuff. I can't wait to see what's the timeline on the game? Like, are you guys gonna do a demo, early access? Like, when can people expect to see something?
Well, my timeline is always, I'm like optimistic, cautiously optimistic, and I'm, the way that things are going right now, we will be in a place where in a few months or a couple of months even, like not a long time, man, we'll be able to have an MVP out.
That's good.
Depending on how things, and that'll be available for anyone to try out. It'll just be there and with a tier of crowdfunding. So it'll be super cheap to get in on the ground level. Might not be too many maps and shit, but that'll be very, very soon, the way that things are looking right now. And down the line, I'm very, very optimistic that this year we'll have a full GMC, and maybe not though. Maybe it'll be next year. That's always the caution. You always want to give yourself double the amount of time, but we don't have a publisher. We don't have anybody to be beholden to. So literally, when is the game out? It'll be out when it's out. To quote the great Linkara, it'll be out when it's out.
Yep. That's the way to do it, man.
But we'll make a big stink on X, Cottonhammer Dev, at Cottonhammer Dev. Just search Cottonhammer Studios if you're interested. Also the website, Blue Sky, all that shit. If you're interested in what we're doing, we'll make a big stink about it, and people will definitely not be able to avoid our shit.
Yeah. Plus, we have a big surprise for everybody that I'm not going to spoil right now, but that will happen too.
Exactly.
Big surprise.
Keep it
Let
on
it
the
happen.
hush, man. You're already giving it away.
It's a secret. All right, dude. Well, let me know if you guys need any help. I'm always here. Especially when you start the marketing stuff, I can hopefully be a valuable asset in that way.
Obviously, man. Of course, I'm gonna be pulling on you. You're gonna be the first guy.
Thank you very much to Nick for coming on the show. It's super great to catch up with him, and I hope you guys will go follow Cottonhammer Studios all over the place on X, on their website, on get Ringfall on your wish list on Steam. Now, you son of a bitch. And yeah, it's May time now, and as many of you know, I have some things happening which will be taking up a lot of my time. So if things are a little slow around here, that's okay. I promise later in May there will be lots of cool new things from In the Keep. So stay tuned. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, folks, patrons, and everyone else who has wonderfully contributed to our show. If you're thinking of ways to do that, you can, of course, go on my wish list. It's in every article on our website where a podcast is posted. And buy me a book, or you could be a Patreon supporter, or any of those things. Or just go to the support tab if you feel like it. If you don't, that's cool. Just keep on listening. Tell a friend. Tell a friend how much you like this show. I love you. God love you. Stay in the keep. Let's take a moment to talk about Appalachia TCG. Whether you're searching for sports cards, Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh!, they can offer you an extensive selection to suit every collector and competitor. As an official reseller, they are committed to providing authentic booster packs, singles, accessories, and rare finds that set them apart from competitors. They buy and sell lots of trading cards and toys, but their special is the Flesh and Blood trading card game, and they run official events, pre-releases, and more. Along with their ever-growing community, Appalachia TCG is the premium spot for trading, buying, and selling cards. I know what you're thinking, but I don't live in Eastern Kentucky. Well, that's the best part. You can shop online and in person. There is the official TCG player shop, eBay store, and online shop. Head on over to AppalachiaTCG.com. That's AppalachiaTCG.com. Tell them In the Keep sent you.
Hi, I'm Ben, host of the Field and Foley podcast. Every episode I sit down with incredible guests. Not just sound designers, field recorders, or musicians, but experts in everything about audio. We explore the creative process behind the sounds that shape our favorite games, films, and experiences. Whether you're an audio professional or just someone who loves great sound, Field and Foley offers deep dives, behind-the-scenes stories, and insights you won't hear anywhere else.